And this one is a competitive economic game where players are going to be trying to gain influence in 6 different industries by bidding on different politics cards, building manufacturing plants in different regions out on the main board, and even buying shares in your opponent's endeavors. And this one is also my own personal pick of the week. And I admit the theme on this one isn't usually my typical theme that I'm interested in, but I think it really does suit the type of game that this one is. But the main thing here is that I just think this one is really well designed. I think it's really clever and has a lot of interesting mechanisms that flow really well together and are implemented in a way that I think looks like a ton of fun. And yes, this game does also use action selection, but unlike a lot of other games where that normally takes up the majority of the round, the action selection in this actually is just a small portion of the round, and it does differentiate itself even more because there's always going to be one player who's acting as the Tycoon for that round and actually gets one additional action. And I will explain exactly how you can become the Tycoon in a minute here, but there are a few other benefits with claiming that title. And one of those benefits does come into play right at the beginning of the round, because whoever is the Tycoon at that moment gets to decide where to move this pawn on the compass on the board. Wherever you move that pawn is going to be activating that region of the board, triggering any of the benefits for the players that do have manufacturing plants built in that region. After that, the players are going to be resolving the round's event, and this is going to be cycling through a few different options, and this is going to be outlined on the round tracker. But usually this means either gaining revenue from the industries you've built or the shares you've purchased, or it could trigger a real quick round of blind bidding where players are going to be bidding on these different politics cards, which grant you victory points as well as either instant or ongoing effects. And these are really nice to collect throughout the game because there is an action that I'll explain later that will allow you to reactivate these. And I am showing you two different types of cards here. The politics card is on the left while the industry cards are on the right. But the industry cards are also really important because these ones are going to be bid on every single round no matter what round event happens. So after you resolve that round event, you're going to be moving into the bidding for the industry card. And this one works a little bit differently than the blind bidding of the politics cards because this one you actually get to see the other player's bids, but every player only gets to bid twice. And this is all going to be tracked on the right hand side of the board here where we have this bidding track, and players are just going to go around in turn order, placing their bidding token wherever they want, and then going around once more, giving one more opportunity to increase their bids. Whichever player took the winning bid is going to have to pay that cost, but then they're also going to be able to get their choice of the available industry cards, and they're also going to become Tycoon from now moving forward. Whichever player got the second winning bid will also get their choice from the remaining cards, but they just don't get the title of Tycoon. Unfortunately for the other players, they're not going to be able to gain an industry card this round, but they do get compensated by being able to put some promoter tokens on their color on the promoter track. This is nice for them because it does increase the power of some of their actions for the action selection portion of this game, which is exactly the phase that happens next. During this phase, each player is going to be taking turns performing 2 actions unless you're the Tycoon player, and in that case you're going to be getting an additional action, but essentially you're going to be putting your action tokens into one of the different action locations. And these allow you to do things like build buildings out on the main board for each industry card you have in your possession, buy shares in the industries of the other players, reactivate those politics cards that I mentioned before, and this will actually activate all the ones that you have in your possession, so the more politics cards you can gain, the more powerful this action is going to be. You could also use an action to gain more money, which will also move you up the loan track, which means that you'll get more money in the future if you do that action again. And then there's an action that allows you to gain more promoters into your promoter area, which actually increases the power of any strategy actions you perform, which is the final action location that I'm going to explain, because if you choose to take the strategy action, you're actually going to gain access to any of these actions down below. But each of these can only be activated once per game, and it doesn't matter if you activated it or another player. If anyone's activated it, no one else can use it for the rest of the game. And each of these does come with a cost of promoters, which means that if you don't have enough promoters to even perform that action, it doesn't matter whether it's been used or not, you aren't able to perform it. And there are a few other things to this game, especially with the tracks that I haven't explained, but you will be gaining different benefits as you move up those tracks. But essentially that's how the game plays, and then you're going to be playing over a series of rounds. And then at the end of the game, each player is going to be adding up their total asset value as well as their total influence. And if just one player is the leader in both of those, you don't even bother adding up the victory points because that player instantly wins the game. But if there's no player that satisfies that, then it's just going to be going to the player with the most victory points. And if you think this one sounds really interesting like I do, you can go ahead and check it out. I have links in the description below. And of course, you can click to get notified.